Hello and welcome to Umbraco Learning Base, Jonathan here. In this video, I'm going to show you how you can create a Backoffice tour in the Umbraco Backoffice. Before we get started, let's just have a look at what a Backoffice tour is. A Backoffice tour is a way to create helpful guides on how to work in the Umbraco Backoffice. This can be especially helpful if you created custom dashboards for your Umbraco project. The tours are managed in a JSON format and are stored in file on disk. By default, Umbraco ships with one Backoffice tour, which are embedded into the CMS assemblies as well. Great. Now let's go ahead and take a deeper dive into what the tour is and how we can configure it. Great. As you can see, I'm now in my Umbraco Backoffice. And to see where the tours are, we need to go up to the question mark over here and click on it. In here, we can see down here that it says tours, and we see the amount of tours that we have. Currently, we only have one. It's called Getting Started, and if we click on it, we can see that it has 6 steps, and we can see the progress over here of how far we are in the tour. If we click the Start button down here, we get this nice screen here that introduces the tour. We can see how many steps there is down here, and there is 13 steps. We can also decide if we don't want to see the tour again. If we click Start the tour, we can see that we get some information over here about the step. We see which step we are on, and we can also see which area is highlighted in the step as well. So if we click Next, we get another highlighted area over here. And if we click Next again, we can see more of the tour here. Awesome. So this is how the tour looks like in the Umbraco Backoffice. One thing to note is that I'm using a project from Umbraco Cloud, which has Umbraco Deploy on it. This means that if you're working on a local project, you might not have the deploy section on your project. However, this doesn't mean that you can't follow along in this tutorial, as all the things that I'm doing can be done in any other section in the Umbraco Backoffice as well. Great. Let's get started on creating this Backoffice tour. First, let's take a look at how we can configure the tour. We first have the tour configuration object. First, we have the name. The name is the name that is displayed in the help drawer for the tour. Then we have the alias, which is unique for your tour. This is used to track the progress of a user has made while taking the tour. Then we have the group property. This is used to group related tours in the help drawer under a common subject. We then have group order. This is used to control the order of the groups in the help drawer. This must be an integer value. We also then have allow disable. This is a Boolean value that indicates if the don't show this tour again should be shown on the tour steps. Then we have culture. You can set the culture, for example, English US, and this tour will only be shown to the users that have set this culture in their profile. If it's not there, the tour will be shown to all users. We then have content type. Use this property if you want to limit the tour to a specific content type. For example, if you want to make a tour that's specific to a content node using the homepage document type. Then we have the required section. This is an array of section aliases that a user needs to have access to in order to see the tour. If the user does not have access to all the sections, the tour will not be shown in the help drawer. And lastly, we have the steps. This is an array of tour steps, JSON objects that a user needs to take to complete the tour. Awesome. Now let's take a look at the tour step object. The tour step JSON object contains all the data related to our tour step. As you can see on the image here, we have an example of how the tour step object looks like. Now let's quickly go through all of them and have a small explanation of what each of them does. The first step that we have is the title. This is the title shown on the tour step. Next, we have content. This text will be shown on the tour step, and it can contain HTML markup. Then we have type. This is the type of step. Currently, there's only one type supported, which is intro. This will center the step and show a start tour button. We then have element. This is a CSS selector for the element you wish to highlight. The tour step will then position itself near the element. A lot of elements in the Umbraco backoffice have a data element attribute. It's recommended to use this attribute because IDs and classes are subject to change in the Umbraco backoffice. We then have element prevent click. Setting this to true will prevent JavaScript events from being bound to the highlighted element. A next button will then be added to the tour step. An example is if you want to highlight a button, but you would like to prevent the user from clicking it. Then we have the backdrop opacity. This is a decimal value between 0 and 1 to indicate the transparency of the background overlay. We also have event. This is the JavaScript event that is bound to the highlighted element that should trigger the next tour step. For example, click or hover. If not set or omitted, a next button will be added to the tour as well. We then have view. Here you can enter a path to your own custom AngularJS views. That will be used to display the tour step. We then have the event element. This is a CSS selector for the element you wish to attach the JavaScript event to. This is useful for when you want to highlight a bigger portion of the backoffice, but want the user to click on something inside the highlighted element. Great. We now had a look at the tour configuration object and the tour step object. Now let's go have a look at how a tour looked like in the backoffice and create our own tour as well. Great. Let's get cracking. Okay, so the first thing that we need to do is that we need to go to our Visual Studio solution. So let's go down to it here, and let's just stop the solution for now. Here you need to either create the app plugins folder in the root of your project, or if you are like me on Umbraco Cloud, the folder is already created for you. Here we need to right click on it and add a new folder. Let's give it a name. Let's call this Umbraco deploy backoffice tour. Great. Next, we need to create a new folder, and this folder needs to be called Backoffice. And again, we need to create another folder, and we need to call this folder for tours. Great. Once we created the folder structure, we now need to create our JSON file that will hold our tour configuration objects. Let's go ahead and click Add, and let's add a new item. Here we're of course going to choose JSON, so let's find it up here. And let's just take a JSON file. Let's call this deploy tour.json. So let's go ahead and add the tour. So far, so good. We've now created the folder structure of our tour, and we've added our JSON file for our configuration. Now let's go ahead and actually add some configuration to our tour object. The first thing that we need to do is that we need to add the tour configuration object. So let's go ahead and do so. So let's add it here. I've just taken it from the Umbraco documentation, and I'll add a link to the documentation down below in the description. As you can see here, we have all our configuration objects in here. First, give it a name. Let's call it Umbraco deploy tour. And let's give it another alias. Call it deploy tour. And let's give it a group name. Let's call it learn about Umbraco deploy. Great. And let's add it in the group order 1. Let's just keep it for allow disable true, and let's just remove the culture as well. The content type, we're not going to do anything about this. And the required section, let's just add the settings section as well, as we want to go to the settings section in the tour as well. And then we've now set up the tour configuration object. The next step is that we want to go ahead and add some steps in our tour. Awesome. So now we can go ahead and create our steps. So we first need to add some object in here. So I'm going to take an example from the documentation, which you can find in the description below. So let's just add it here. And as you can see, this is how a step looks like. So let's go ahead and change the title. Let's call the title deploy workspace. Then we can also change the content of the step. And let's say this is the deploy workspace. Let's just keep the type as null. And now we also need to figure out the element. So now we need to find the element, the data element in the Umbraco backoffice. So let's run our project. And let's go to the Umbraco backoffice here. To find the data element, we need to first go to our workspace here, and we need to right click on it and inspect the source code, as some of the source code will have the data element tag on it that we need here. So if we look at the list class over here, we can see that it has the data element. Let me just make this a bit bigger so it's easier to see. As you can see, it has the data element here called tab deploy. So let's just grab it from here and go back to our code down here, and then change global-user with tab-deploy. Great. So now that we've added the data element, let's just save it. And so far, so good. Great. Now we've added the first step. Let's save it. And let's go back to the back office of our project. Great. Let's go up here and click on the question mark. And let's go to the Umbraco tour here. We can see the tour is here. And if we click it, we can see the first step. So let's go ahead and try and start the tour. As you can see, it now highlights the workspace over here. And if we click on it, we can see where we just complete the tour, as there's only one step for now. Now let's go ahead and complete the tour. And let's go ahead and add the second step to our tour. So let's go back to Visual Studio down here. And for the ease of it, let's just add a comma here. And let's just take the content from here. Let's do this like this. So we add it here. And now we can go ahead and configure the next part of our tour. So in this case, we want to show the workspace area. So let's go ahead and change this title to deploy workspace area, like this. And let's add some more text as well. So call it in here. You can see the environment you are on, as well as the transfer queue for the next environment. Great. In this case, it's just going to be type null. And let's go ahead and find the data element for the workspace area. So let's go back to the back office here, and let's just inspect the source code in the area here. So if we look over here, let's see if we can find it. Boom, boom, boom. Perfect. As you can see, we have a div up here that has the data element. So let's go ahead and take this. Go back to Visual Studio down here and change the data element as well. Great. Then we also need to change the element prevent click from false to true. And we need to remove the event click down here. This will add a next button on our step when we run the tour again. So let's go ahead and save this. Go back to the back office over here. Let's just quickly clear the cache to make sure that everything is saved properly. And let's try and rerun our tour over here. So let's go ahead to our tour and let's rerun it. We can see that it highlights the deploy workspace. And when we click on it, we get the next step down here. It highlights the deploy area and the text down here, as well as we're getting a button that says next. That takes us to the next step. But because we don't have any other steps, it of course just completes the tour for now. Great. Let's go ahead and click complete. And now let's go ahead and add the third step to our tour. Again, let's just take the top step down here and add it down below. Great. Now we want to go to the settings section. So up here, down here, we say settings section. And let's change the text down here and change it to something like, in the settings section, you can manage the deploy settings. Great. Again, we need to find the data element, so let's go ahead and do so. In this case, we need the settings data element up here, so let's inspect it. And let's find it up here. We have span here, boom, 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 and we can see we have a list with a data element here. Great. Let's go ahead and add it. And let's go to Visual Studio again and change it. Great. This time we're going to keep the element prevent click and keep it as false. And we're going to still have the event click, as we still want them to be able to click on the settings section. Awesome. So let's go ahead and save it. And let's just quickly take a look at how it looks like. Let's just empty the cache again, just to be sure. Close this one down. And let's go here and start the tour once again. Again, highlights the deploy workspace. When we click on it, we can see the transfer queue and all this again. And then we can click next, and it highlights the settings section. And once we click on it, again, the tour just finishes. So far, so good. And we've created 3 steps already. Great. So you've now seen how you can add a few steps in a back-office tour. I'm going to go ahead and add the rest of the steps to the tour. And since the process is quite repetitive, I'm going to skip a bit ahead. See you in a few seconds. Great. I've now added the last steps to my tour. Let's just go ahead and save it. And let's go back to my back office. Let's just inspect quickly and refresh the cache. Great. Let's now go ahead and run the tour and see how it looks like. So let's rerun it here. First we have the workspace. We click on it. We can see we have 9 steps as well. We click on it. We have transfer queue. This we've seen before. We've seen this before. Now we click here. It shows us this area, some text. Click next. Click next again. Click next again. Next. And then we finished our back office tour. Awesome. So this is how you can create a back office tour for your users of your Umbraco project. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Jonathan out.